Cutting your wool can be the biggest stumbling block for a beginner. And I'm going to show you several different ways to cut wool, and in particular, how to cut wool as simply as using these, right? And these are a little bit fancy, and you might not have those. Here we go. But you probably got a pair of these, or you can get a pair of these, right? And I'll tell you about the benefits. Let's get started. Here's a piece of wool that I've washed, and I've gone through the snipping process on it. Now, you can read the article below that has an article about how I fold this, or if you remember the rug hooking journey, go to the basics course and read about dividing your wool so you have even pieces. This will give you a 1/16 of a yard. And right now I'm going to rip it off. And how you rip wool is very easy. You just rip it. Okay, so now that I've got a piece, one thing I want to say is I never go to the cutter with anything any bigger than this. It needs to fit comfortably in my hand so I can control it as I guide it through the cutter. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and take this piece and I'm going to cut it on my Townsend cutter. The Townsend cutter is a great cutter. It's expensive, but it's the last cutter you will ever need. And if you only cut with a narrow range of sizes, there are ways to even make that more economical. And stay tuned to the end, and I'll tell you the tip about how to buy your cutter heads. For now, let's take this strip of wool and let's approach the cutter. You line it up here with the edge and you simply crank the handle. And what I'm looking at is right here where my thumb is, not over here where it's cutting. This is why I only take this much wool to the cutter, because otherwise it can get up and under there and it can bend, or simply the weight of it can pull the cutter out of alignment. So then I'm going to simply start cutting. And it's a very simple process, right? But what if you don't have several $100s to spend on that cutter, right? There are ways around it. And these are the scissors that I like to use. These are Tim Holtz scissors. I have a link for it down in the description. You can buy them on Amazon. You can buy them at Michael's. You can buy them at a lot of different places. These have red handles because they're old stock. The brand new ones, here we go. The brand new ones are black handles. So that's really the only difference. The important thing is the business end is the same. And these are mighty sharp and very comfortable in your hand. What I love is how the handles are squishy, right? So the way to go about cutting this is I simply take the scissors and I snip roughly an inch over. Okay, so it's not an exact inch. I didn't measure it. It's probably a little under an inch, but that's okay. I'd rather my strips be a little bit smaller than a 1/4 inch than a little bit bigger, right? And then you simply rip it. Now, the reason we can't go over a 1/4 of an inch in rip is that the fiber just won't take it. It won't rip. But this strip here has the potential of 4 strips. And all I have to do is take a basket of these and sit in front of the TV, and I hold it like this, and I simply cut, cut, cut. Okay, now if that doesn't work for you, if for some reason this position in your hands is too difficult, what I found some other students doing is a technique using their hooking frame. So let me show you that. For this little trick, I take the end of the strip and I pull it up as if it was a great big giant loop that I'm pulling up. Now this isn't easy to do, so I would definitely recommend holding it in your hands at first. Where's my scissors? And then you can use this as your extra hand, right? Get the camera angle right. And then you simply start cutting down the middle. and you pull on it as needed. Once you get everything cut in half, you're going to go back to the strip and you're going to cut this half in half. Now it's not going to be perfect, and I'm doing it at a weird angle just so that I can get it on camera for you. So it's far from perfect, as you can see. You know, I've got some really skinny areas here and some thicker areas here, but that does not matter. In fact, that imperfection, I think, in many ways improves your work. And then I would do the same thing with this strip. So you would just repeat this over and over and over and over. The good news is all you need is a simple pair of scissors for this, right? You don't need anything fancy. Once you have your strips cut, you're going to want to organize them, right? And there's a ton of different ways to do that. You can simply lay them all out and then take one of the strips and put it crossways like a plus sign and do a simple knot in it. And that'll hold your strips together temporarily while you're working. If you want something that's a little bit longer lasting and is not going to fall apart, is to use one of my strip sorters. Here is one of the rings that I've taken off of the bundle. The important thing to remember is that you can't put it together while it's on the bundle. Once I have that, I'm going to grab the wool that I've already cut. And a lot of times while I'm cutting, I just lay it over my finger like this. And then I take it to the strip sorter and drop it in. Once I have that, I close the ring. And if you have particularly arthritic fingers and it's difficult to open the rings, I've gone to a bigger ring because they're easier to open than the little tiny ones. But you don't even really have to open the ring. You can simply push part of it through like that. And it works the same way, right? And then it is just a matter of inside out. Think socks. And you pull that down over it. And then as you're working, you can pull out one strip at a time. And it makes it really simple. A lot of times if I have a quick strip that I want to attach, maybe a partial strip, I'll just put a quick little overhand knot. You know, that first knot that you use when you're tying your shoes. And I just put that on there. And then it stays put. And then I know the next time I need to get that. One way to get it off a little bit easier is to use the knot that you use when you put fringe on scarf. So take your loop, put it behind the ring, and then put the ends through that. And so it's tied on there like a bit of scarf fringe, right? And then when you want to take it off, that's real easy. So you can do either one, whatever works for you, whichever depends on what your hands are doing, I think, at the time. But that's a great way to organize and sort your wool. So however you cut your wool, whether it's with an expensive cutter, such as this one is an original Townsend. They're now made by Beeline, and there's a link below. You can get them from a dealership. And one of my favorite dealers is Door Mill Store out of New Hampshire. And you would pick a cutter size to go in it. Now, each of the cutters are going to be a couple $100. So what you want to do is carefully pick and choose what cut sizes you're going to get. I start most rug hookers on either a 5 or a 6. Then what I do is I recommend that they try other sizes, either that they hand cut, you know, like we did earlier with scissors, or by borrowing them from friends using their cutter, something along that line. Figure out if they want to go bigger or if they want to go smaller. Most rug hookers will go bigger. So if they own a 6, the next blade they need to own is an 8. Once you have an 8, you can take an 8 and cut it in half for a number 4. So then you would have 4, 6, and 8. That is enough to do most rug hooking that you're ever going to want to do. Anything else, you can rely on the good old scissors. For more lessons like this, please join me on my online courses and membership. You can find all the information that you need at howtorughook.com. If you're still confused, come to one of my twice weekly hook-ins. The first one's on Wednesday, and it's hosted by my friend Kim Hurt. The second one is on Saturday, and I host that one. I usually attend both, but you can be sure to find me on Saturday. If you have questions about the membership or how it works, you can ask other members there, or I am there to answer any questions that you may have. Then, for additional rug hooking information, check out these videos. Come on, click on one, right? You like this one? Maybe that one. If not, go to my channel. Subscribe. See you then.